year is 1987, and hip-hop music starts to break away from its old-school foundation, and a new school era emerges. This era is fueled by innovation, Black consciousness, and diversity in sound and participation. For many, this is arguably hip-hop's most creative period, the Golden Era. Covering the period from 1987 through 1984, the series will focus on the Golden Era and cover several specific influential albums and their impact on the hip-hop generation and the generations that follow. That thing's so hot, we gotta let it ride out for real, for real. What's going on, world? This is Garland, co-founder of All Things Black with Calvin and Garland. Calvin's not here this evening. This is a little special thing we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks, talking about the golden era of hip-hop, as you heard in the intro. I'm a devoted hip-hop head who fell in love with hip-hop in college as a college student at Hampton University. I'm currently an adjunct professor at the University of Baltimore, and I've taught a course on hip-hop and its cultural impact. In addition, I've facilitated some workshops around hip-hop culture, and I led a program that gave youth opportunities to learn music production, songwriting, and performance from local artists like Grammy Award winner Jay Deal and Randy Roberts, and some seminal club music group Jasper Street. And so I'm not new to this. I've been doing it for a while. And if you've watched our All Things Black, our sports show, the B.I.G show, you know that I sneak some hip hop into it every now and again when I can. And Calvin tries to go along the best that he can. And so shout out to my partner, Calvin, for setting this up this evening. But man, I want to introduce you, and joining me is DJ WisdomBeats. Wisdom has DJ'd and produced for a multitude of artists and entities like Pitbull, Professor Daddy-O, Jamil Honesty, Ill Conscious, who's a good brother. I saw him at the Common concert. I think it was last summer or summer before last. Common and Pete Rock, Planet Asia, Indigo Phoenix, and many others. And so, Wisdom, welcome.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure being here now, man. No doubt. Good intro. I love that. I feel like a celebrity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, man. I've been so psyched for this, and as I thought about this, because normally on our sports show, man, we talk about a lot of different things, and sometimes I give an album review, or I'll talk about a significant hip hop album. And I thought about doing, like, I was inspired by Bomani Jones. He focused, I think it was on 1996 in hip hop. He's been looking at the year 1996, and he did a couple albums. And I was thinking, like, I came up in the golden era. And so who else could I do with this? I've had Chris, as we know, Eastside, what's up? Shout out to Sundiata and to Andwele and the Barbershop. Reflection Eternal Conscious Head was the first iteration. And so I had Chris come to my class, and he talked to my class about some Baltimore hip hop history. He's a historian. He's very connected to the culture. So there's nobody else that I thought could do this as well as he could. So man, I'm proud. I'm happy that you consented to do this with me.
Man, no doubt, man. It's a pleasure. It's an honor now, man. I had a ball when we were at the seminar, at University of Baltimore. I'm glad that you invited me. I had a chance to really, shed some light on just, hip hop from a Baltimorean's perspective and everything now. So it was a pleasure. And we've always connected now. We're not only, church members from, previous days, but I got to shout out the original MC now. So seeing you from the church perspective, and then also seeing you balance the hip hop aspect, seeing you at the Roots show down at
Rams Head.
Yeah, Rams Head. That was one of the best shows I've been to.
As a matter of fact, the Roots about to come back for Archgate in about 3 weeks. And so, trust me, we'll be down there standing in the crowd, trying to catch some of the show.
Exactly.
All right, our focus tonight is the beginning of what we call, or what we know is, the Golden Era. The Golden Era is a period between about 1987 and 1992. Some people say 93. And so, we're going to cover a couple pivotal albums throughout that time period. We're gonna hit on everybody's album. I know some people gonna say, "How come you ain't talk about this album? How come you ain't talk about that album?" Trust me, I think that golden era was so many great releases between this period of time. It's hard. Trust me, it was hard just to pick these 5 albums, and so I thought I did a little justice, but y'all just bear with us. And so for most rap historians and aficionados, we start off the golden era with this album, Paid in Full by Eric B. and Rakim. To me, this is kind of like the gateway album into what we know as the golden era. And so released on July the 7th, 1987, Paid in Full was the debut studio album of Eric B. and Rakim. Although the production on the album is credited to Eric B. and Rakim, there was a strong influence of DJ and producer Marley Marl of the Juice Crew on this album as well. And this album ushered rap music into its next phase and is groundbreaking in several areas. And before we get into kind of dissecting the album, we're going to look at it sonically as a producer, because we want to get Wisdom's insight as a producer. This album was very innovative in terms of its sampling, particularly his use of James Brown. And so we're going to talk about that. And also we're going to talk about the lyrical bridge of this, because Rakim birthed a new style. We can say that he took it from the old school style and birthed the new school style. And so before we get into that, man, what were you doing in 1987? How old were you? And what role did hip hop culture play in your life at that time?
Man, 1987 was a pivotal year for me. I was a senior in high school. I'm going from 87 into 88. So I was a senior. So I was 17 at that time. And I had, aspirations of being a beatbox. That was my call to fame back in the day now. Before I went by Wisdom, I went by TNT. Shout out to my man John Featherstone, aka DJ Shock. He gave me the name TNT because he said I exploded when it came to the beatboxing aspect. So don't laugh at the corniness now, man. But yeah, I was nice with the beatbox. I can't even front now, man. I'm so the beatboxing. I had a crew. Myself. We had an MC. His name was at the time it was GQ. Now he goes by Speech, even though he doesn't really rhyme anymore. Still call him Speech. Okay. And then we had a DJ. His name Eddie Fields. He goes by DJ Authentic right now, but he's had a few iterations of names and everything. But I think back then he was DJ Grand Wizard probably now. And he had a few other names now, but that was our little small crew. And then it kind of branched out, and Dwelle was kind of on the outskirts of our crew because I've known him forever now.
Sure.
But we had some background dancers, or at least in our head, we had some background dancers and everything. So we had our life planned out now.
But I had a whole crew, yes.
We had a whole crew now, and 87 was just the start of what we thought was going to be something big as far as, how everyone in Baltimore always said they wanted to put Baltimore on their back, put it on the map.
Right.
That was our thought process, but we were kind of different, as far as our content, the way that we dressed, the way that we kind of carried ourselves now. But 87 was a very important year.
Yeah, 87 for me, I was just finishing my sophomore year of college at Hampton University. I probably, when I got there in 85, Prince was the biggest thing going right then. And so, although you had New Yorkers playing hip hop, the hip hop you had never heard before, because for us, we were just hearing the stuff that eventually made it to radio. We were not hearing the stuff that they were playing in the skating rink, in the street, at the block parties. And so, hearing a lot of different styles and different artists, it was a little kind of like, oh, wow, I didn't know this existed or that existed.
Right.
And so we were still just going through the end of the Purple Rain Prince phase. And so by the time that we got to 87, was just fully getting into the music. And so this was kind of like, again, a different style, because before that, probably the most popular rap that was being played, at least in the mainstream, was Run DMC.
Right.
And so, it was really just coming off of Walk This Way. It was coming off of My Adidas. It was coming off of that particular album. And so it was, still kind of like, okay, it's the old school flavor of the rap. And this was something that was totally different. Someone that was, rapping in a different style, a different vocal tone. And so it definitely was a shock to the senses in that
Mm-hmm.
word. And I don't think we really knew as much about the culture maybe as we thought we did. And so, we didn't understand the elements and all of those particular things. And so, I was just starting to really learn what
Mm-hmm.
the elements of the culture was and, what it meant. And so first, let's talk lyrically. Now, first, lyrically, up to that point, the most popular group at that point was Run DMC, as I mentioned. They scored big in the mainstream with
Mm-hmm.
their double platinum album, Raising Hell, and their mega crossover hit, Walk This Way, which was a
Mm-hmm.
collaboration and a cover of the Aerosmith hit song. And Raising Hell has been ranked as one of the greatest albums of all time, of course. And in 1987, it was nominated for a Grammy Award, making Run DMC the first hip hop act to receive a nomination. Now, Run DMC's sound and style to me was strongly connected to the old school,
Mm-hmm.
simple rhyme structure that was more shouting than melodic.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you had listened to, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, the Funky Four plus one more,
Mm-hmm.
those old school groups, it was syncopated back and forth. Is I say a word, you say my next word.
Mm-hmm.
We're going back and forth on verses, on words. It's not necessarily um lyrical in the sense that Paid in Full was, but it was strongly connected to that old school. What did you think about that in terms of lyrically, Run DMC in comparison to Eric B. and Rakim when this comes out?
Um, you bring up a good point now as far as the the I don't want to say the simpleness of the production with the lyricism, because Larry Smith placed this stamp on production during that
Sure.
era. He was the precursor to Marley Marl, as you brought up a little bit earlier. And their rhymes, their cadence, their voices, it fit his production perfectly and everything. But truth be told, it was a astronomical leap going from Run DMC, which they were cool for that era, but
Yes.
something happened between 85 to 87. And I don't know if it was the technology, if there was just something just magical happened, and that's what really birthed that golden era, because so many albums dropped in a short period of time that still to this day hold weight. I would rather hear something from the golden era than I would right now, truth be told. But getting back to your point as far as lyrically,
Mm-hmm.
Run, he was dope, very dope now. And I like the dynamics of Run versus DMC, the way that they bounced off of each other. To this day, I don't think any other MCs that are in a group format were able to bounce off of each other in the format. And I've
Sure.
seen them perform in a large venue, and years ago they actually did like a small tour back in the late 90s, and they actually came to like a little, I don't, it was almost like a hole in the wall in Pasadena, Maryland.
Oh wow. Okay.
Pasadena,
Oh wow.
Maryland. Oh, I cannot remember the
Wow.
name of the place, but
Uh-huh.
it was Run, it was DMC. He had Run actually had JoJo with him. He was a kid at the time now. He probably was maybe early teens of that. But it was good to see them because they control the crowd, they control the stage like no other. And looking back in hindsight, their presence probably overshadowed their lyricism. I mean, they were lyrically dope for their time, but when
Correct.
you put a Run and a DMC versus what Rakim and subsequently, a Big Daddy Kane, KRS One, Fuji
KRS-One.
Rap,
Mm-hmm.
those four right there, I usually group together. As far as the dopest MCs of that era, it was almost night and day. You can kind of see the writing on the wall that, that ABC style that they were doing, so to speak, it wasn't going to compare to like the lyricism of a Rakim, because you heard double entendres or you just heard the structure of his rhymes. It was poetic
Sure.
in that nature. So yeah, it definitely was a big jump, but nothing to take away from Run DMC at all, because without them, we wouldn't have had what we have
Oh
right
yeah, most definitely. We would not call them necessarily lyrically strong. We
now.
wouldn't say they were lyricists in that great sense of, as we describe a lyricist in these next couple of weeks that we're talking about, in
Mhm,
terms of flow and all those things. And I agree with those points. But in terms of getting us into the mainstream, without Run DMC, there's no Yo MTV Raps. There is no crossover to the mainstream where hip hop is basically running Billboard for decades.
mhm,
And that all links back to Raising Hell and the work that they did, before that, Kings of Rock,
mhm,
all of those particular things. I mean, for the most part, that's what we knew was Run DMC. And so, yeah,
mhm,
this is definitely a big departure from that style between 85 to where we get to 87, to
mhm,
where it's this more melodic, jazzy flow versus, when you heard I came in the door and I said it before, never let the mic magnetize me no more, or, thinking of a master plan because it ain't nothing but sweat inside my hands.
mhm.
So I dig into my pocket, all my
My
money spent.
instinct.
So I dig deeper, still
Come
coming
on
up
now,
with
wait a
lint.
minute.
So I start my mission, leave my residence, thinking, how can I get some dead presidents? Wasn't nobody talking on the mic like that.
Nobody was talking like that at all. It was so visual. It was so visceral. You can picture exactly what he was
That's what it
saying,
was.
but he took you to another level with the way that he structured his rhymes, and he commanded such a presence by having such a mellow voice at that time. Prior to that,
Right,
even with a LL Cool J, with a Run DMC, they
right.
yelled on the mic to get your attention. Rakim was the antithesis of that. He didn't have to yell at all. He rarely had to use any profanity or curse words now, but he was
Hmm.
at that point. Nothing was harder or better than that.
Right. I agree with you. I think that, this visualization of the rhyme, this flow of, we really were digging the lyrics. I mean, this style was so influential that I remember when Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, they made Summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And um, they thought that Rakim wrote the rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
And Will was saying, no, he didn't write the rhyme, but he was so influential on us. Everybody was trying to be Rakim then.
Mm-hmm.
Around 87, after that song comes out, we go into 88, Salt and Pepper. They had a song, it was so smooth. People like, did Rakim ghost write that? No, everybody was trying to imitate Rakim. They had started changing the style to try to be smoother instead of, that link to, a Run DMC style.
Oh yeah, exactly. And when you're talking about people that were really influenced, even from a female standpoint, you had Antoinette. She was always
Yes.
billed as the female Rakim, and I think she just had a birthday. Happy belated birthday to Antoinette.
Okay.
Dope. To me, she was a dope. I hate to put that moniker female MC out there, but
Right.
at the time, you only had so many women that were picking up the microphone, really doing their thing. And Antoinette, at that point, she really had the potential to, go to the next level, but it wasn't destined to be.
Yeah, then that MC Light, and again, here's another style, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like the smooth Rakim. Took it from Salt and Pepper, which
Mm-hmm.
that first song, Showstopper. My mic sounds nice. That's very Run DMC. That's
Mm-hmm.
back and forth, back and forth. By the time you get to the next album, where it's more commercial, the style is more smooth. Same thing
Mm-hmm.
with Light.
Mm-hmm.
Light as a Rock, all of those things, very kind of back and forth rough. But as the albums go on and that influence of the Rakim, you see the style get a little bit more smoother. And so, yeah, definitely, Rakim birthed the style. He basically birthed you. If you were emceeing from '87 up through '96 through the commercial mainstream crossover, Rakim is probably your daddy, or he at least your grandfather.
Yeah,
So,
he definitely fathered a whole slew of MCs. You can even hear his influence in a Kendrick Lamar and a J. Cole right now.
definitely. Man, let me drop a couple albums that came out in '87. You know, people
Just a
saying there's a
couple.
whole lot of more albums. Just a couple.
Just a couple.
We had just a couple. Criminal Minded by Boogie Down Productions. If there's another album, probably, trust me, I was battling between these two albums because Criminal Minded did, you know, we got South Bronx out of there. The P is Free. We got a lot of Bridges Over. I'm sorry, let me not forget
Please
that.
don't forget
And
that.
so, yeah, you can't forget that. That definitely brought us into the battle. And so, you know, Boogie Down Productions, Criminal Minded, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Rock the House, Dana Dane with Fame, LL Cool J, Bigger and Deffer. Let's see, Too Short, Born to Mac, Ice-T, Ron Pays, MC Shan. This is an album. This is actually one of the first rap albums I ever owned. MC Shan, Down by Law. That was a great album. That was a great album produced by Marley Marl. Shy-D, Gotta Be Tough. The Fat Boys was still around. Crushing. Houdini, Open Sesame. Let's see. Steady B, What's My Name? Little Philly shout out right there. The Skinny Boys, Skinny and Proud. Heavy D and the Boys, Living Large. Kumo D, How You Like Me Now? We got to give Kumo D. He definitely, I think, you know, transitioned from the old school with the Treacherous Three to a solo act. And, you know, his battles with LL was legendary. Just go listen to the album where he is got the Jeep on the Kango, and you'll see what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Let's see, a couple more in here. Just Ice, Cool and Deadly. We can't forget Just Ice. Or my name Justice. Yeah, Just Ice. Just Ice was something else. Yeah, you know, going way back. If you want the rap history, go listen to that song Just Ice, going way back. I think that was produced by KRS-One, where he basically I was there. I was there when Flash, Baron, Bam, all of these people was out. This was who was there. This is where the party took place. All those different things. It's a history lesson on who was there at the beginning. And also you had Beastie Boys drop that single, You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party, although that was not the best song on the album, on License to Ill. And on Bigger and Deffer, LL Cool J, I Need Love. And so those are some of the things that were happening, some of the albums that came out in '87. So let's go back, man, and talk a little bit more. Let's get into the production, the soundscape of the album. Now, particularly for me, this album really opened up the possibilities of the sample. Now, not that hip hop had never sampled before, but it was not done like this on this album. I mean, of course, Run DMC they remade Walk This Way. It wasn't necessarily a sample. You know, the first really hip hop song, Rapper's Delight, you know, that's Chic, but it was not necessarily, we wouldn't say that's a sample in the true sense of how this album was a sample. So particularly James Brown, you have Funkadelic, Chick Corea, Dennis Edwards, they all were sampled on this album. I got Ashley's Roach Clip by the Soul Searchers. You know, these are songs that are really sampled where, to me, I thought they were playing the songs because that's how, you know, hip hop was based. You know, they were playing, it was a lot of 808 on Raising Hell. You know, they were Rick Rubin and Larry Smith, they were playing those things. It was Drum Machine, it was all of those particular things. But if you didn't necessarily know James Brown's catalog or Funkadelic's catalog. Probably, I guess Dennis Edwards is probably the most recognizable sample on there outside of I Know I Got Soul with Bobby
Mm-hmm.
Bird. You really wouldn't know who these cats were. And so for you as a producer, what did this album show you about using the sample, the music?
For me, it showed me the potential of going through your parents' record crates. I'm going through the album because I was a stickler for picking up a record, making sure I didn't get in trouble, and then looking on the back. Now, don't
Right.
laugh. This is a Kenny Rogers Christmas album, but it's just there now. Don't laugh. But
Hey,
you know,
you
for
get a
me,
sample off of that.
exactly, you can sample off of anything, but it really showcased the potential. And that album was jazzy, and that jazzy production, especially from I think Marley Marl has such a fingerprint on that album because he tapped into using, sampling, um, you know, in a way that others weren't doing. I think he was pretty much the father of being able to chop samples as far as taking a kick, taking a snare,
Mm-hmm.
taking a hi hat off of a record,
Right.
off of a James Brown record, and being able to replay it in his SP 1200 and everything now. So for me, it just opened my ears and then it opened my eyes up to look at the credits on the record. They weren't really telling you what the samples were, so we did have to do a little
Right.
fishing and everything. But it just opened up my ears to the jazziness and the funk of the music that was being used, and I think that music was something that really influenced the way that Rakim wrote. And then also because Rakim actually, I think his father was a jazz musician, and because
Yeah, and I think
Rakim,
he played horn or like saxophone in high school. I've seen some pictures of
exactly,
floating on the internet. Him and I high school band playing the saxophone as well.
exactly. So his father being a jazz musician, and then in turn him playing the saxophone as well. I think when you look at the way that he structured his rhymes in a manner that a jazz musician may notate their music. And I think that was the beginning of that. Prior to that, it was just a tad bit different the way that MCs kind of approached the rhyme scheme, but Rakim was just different at that point already.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I think it's because, like you said, Marley really used the sample well. He wasn't a lazy sampler. He just
Mm-hmm.
didn't take the line or the break and play it over and over and over again. It made it feel like it was a song. He took a song structure and made a new song out of it. He took the
Mm-hmm.
snare, he took the kick, he took the bass from here. He put those things together to make a brand new song. I remember listening to that in my parents' basement, or they had that in their collection. But the way that he used it was definitely innovative for that time period. And for me, I think it really opened up the James Brown sample. Not a lot of people were using James before that.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and that also Wisdom also was a link to the old school before they. Although electronics has always been in hip hop has kind of been at the forefront of using electronics in
Mm-hmm.
music. The sampler, the mixer, all of those particular things, the
Mm-hmm.
drum machine. I think, when they were doing these things in the party and they did not have that in the rec center, Herc did not have that. Bam did not have that. Flash did not have that. They were
Mm-hmm.
taking the breaks in the James Brown music and they were rapping over it. And so I think they took that flavor that was already being used and then, Marley brought it to this album because I think, by the time we get to the radio, once you get to Rappers Delight and those songs that follow after Rappers Delight,
Mm-hmm.
people start suing. You just, there was a thing of, okay, we can't pay for the rights of the music. We have to get studio musicians to play this. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that from maybe 77 or 78 up through 85, 86, it was either there was studio musicians playing it or you just started seeing the emergence of using the drum machine or the 808 and those things like that?
Oh yeah, most definitely now. And you can see that, not only from a Marley Marl standpoint, there were a few other producers that were at the
Sure.
forefront of the sampling, like a Mantronic, which I don't think he gets enough credit.
Yes.
He,
Yes. Mantronics. I read somewhere Chuck D said when they heard this album, they went back and remade all of A Nation, It Takes a Nation of Millions to
mm-hmm.
hold us back because this album showed them the possibility of taking different pieces of music and making a song.
Oh yeah,
And
oh
so
yeah,
when they
most
heard
definitely.
this, they were like, man, we behind. We need to go back into the lab. And so that's what the Bomb Squad did. And we're going to talk about It Takes a Nation of Millions next week. But yeah,
Okay.
so this sonically, it definitely, snapped for people in terms
Mm-hmm.
of what you can do with music, what you can do with the sample. What were some of your favorite tracks off of this album?
um, Paid in Full, of course. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I know you got soul. Um, I'm not gonna name Chinese Arithmetic. I did not. That is the song. That is
Yeah,
the one song that I wanted to remove from that album. It just hurt my ears,
that's a
and
skip.
it is
That's a
an
skip.
instant skip. Just no. But really, it's just so many tracks on it. But the ones that stand out, of course, would be oh yeah, Eric B for President, of course. Now, my
Yes.
melody. Um, because any of those songs, even though you had that sonic bed, I was all about
Mm-hmm.
listening to the lyrics of Rakim, and just he took you to a different level. He took you to outer space with the rhymes, and everything. Now it was just incredible writing from that standpoint. 1987, we never heard anything like it now, but yeah, everything but Chinese
Definitely.
Arithmetic.
I'm with you. And it's so crazy. This album, I'm looking at the track list, and now you had 3 DJ cuts on here.
Mm-hmm.
Eric B is on the cut,
Yeah.
Chinese Arithmetic, and the extended beat was an instrumental mix of Move the Crowd.
Right.
And so
Right.
this is definitely transition because you're still giving the DJ some. I don't think people even acknowledge the DJ anymore in the music. There's no DJ. It's just a
No.
DAT. You just press it and you play.
Right.
But yeah, this album has 3 instrumental cuts on it where
Mm-hmm.
Eric B, he's trying to do something. It ain't the most def cutting, but he trying to do
He was
something on it.
trying to do
So
something now, and even back then, and we fledgling DJs, we had a few things to say about some of those cuts, so to speak.
right,
Now on there now, but it added to the album sonically and everything, and I think having those DJ cuts, it was a homage to the DJ to give that DJ his shine. So
definitely.
don't want to take anything away from Eric B. Sometimes I do think that Eric B probably took a little more credit from a production standpoint than what he probably should have.
Sure,
And I think that
sure.
Rakim should have gotten a lot more credit because he, truth be told, probably had a hand in selecting some of those samples. And probably being there with Marley Marl maybe, or seeing what Marley Marl is doing from a production standpoint. So yeah, but I don't want to take anything away. I'm not the type of person that's going to disparage someone or what have you now. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Now, I agree with you. I loved I Ain't No Joke,
Oh yeah.
My Melody.
Mhm.
I know you got Soul. Even Move the Crowd is in there, Paid in Full.
Mhm.
And it's the remix they did. I was reading in Brian Coleman's book. Rakim was saying about this album, and Rakim was saying that 7 Minutes of Madness, and so that song was a remix into 7 Minutes of Madness by UK's Cold Cut Crew. And so yeah, this I think people really really got on this album because of that remix. And so that remix also really set it off um, for, this whole recording, this whole piece. According to copyright, music, and pop culture scholars Kimbru McLeod and Peter DeCola, the golden age of hip hop sampling spans from 1987 to 1992, and artists and record labels were not yet aware of the preeminence of hip hop culture in mainstream media, and they did not yet accept it as a legitimate institution. And so, although you had a lot of these artists sampling in 87, 88, by the time that we get to 89, these major labels and these artists are begin to recognize that hip hop, their songs are being sampled, their songs are being replayed. In some instance, as we said, it was lazy sampling. They're basically taking the whole sample or the whole song and reusing it, not giving credit, not necessarily clearing the samples or getting permission to use that music. And so as we get deeper into, the birth of this style of sampling, we also start to see that the record labels and the artists start to come after hip hop to get that money, to get those royalties, to get that right. And so really, I think a lot of times we say the golden era was special because the sampling, there was no concern about, okay, I can't use this beat because we got to pay thousands of dollars. They were just basically going ahead and using the music, and they just dealt with it further down the line. And so for a lot of these golden era albums, you had record labels and artists coming back to get them later on, years after the albums have been released, because there's money in getting the publishing from this. And so they're getting lawyers, they're lawyering up, coming back, looking for the money that was made off of these songs. And so join us next week. I want to invite you back. We're going to talk about the impact of Black nationalism and consciousness on hip hop. And we're going to highlight the album It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back by Public Enemy. In my opinion, the greatest rap album ever released. This is just a great discussion to kick us off for the rest of our series. Next week, we're going to focus on the impact of Black nationalism and consciousness in the music. And we're going to focus on It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back by Public Enemy. And we're going to talk about how this Black political thought comes into the music. And it really, if we talk about how Rakim birthed the style, I think we can say that It Takes a Nation of Millions probably birthed political thought for the hip hop generation.
It did. It was so influential now on, me as far as my consciousness, the way that I carried myself, all of that now. So it was extremely influential.
Definitely. So I want to invite everybody back next week to join us. Leave a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Something maybe you think that we should be covering that we missed. And I just like to thank you for your time, brother. This was a great way to get us started.
Oh, no doubt. Now I really appreciate it. This was an excellent way to start off, the discussion and the opportunity to kind of shed some light on things that really influenced us from a hip hop standpoint. So it was a pleasure.
Most definitely. Now the music produced on here, our intro and outro, produced by DJ WisdomBeats.
Peace.
Peace.